What is empathy, and why is it such a controversial word? Take what Elon Musk said on the Joe Rogan show. He claimed that the fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. This is a common refrain on the American right. Before his assassination, Charlie Kirk said the following: "I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy." Or take Ben Shapiro, who has said, "There are a lot of philosophers who suggest that empathy is actually a quite bad thing for society, because when you identify with the other person, as opposed to feeling sympathy for the other person, what you end up doing is making that person's interest predominant, and that is a problem." But why do they all hate the word empathy? To understand that, we have to travel back to the 19th century. That's when the German philosopher Robert Fischer wrote a PhD dissertation on aesthetics and coined the word Einfühlung, or feeling into. Fischer wanted to describe an important aspect of art appreciation. Say you're looking at a famous painting. To fully enjoy the work of art, it helps to imagine the feelings and emotions that the artist expressed on the canvas. You don't just want to understand the painting, you want to feel the atmosphere. For example, in the case of Rembrandt's The Night Watch, what would it feel like to be the girl running through a troop of militiamen? What was her world like? In 1909, the German word Einfühlung was translated into English as, you guessed it, empathy. From then on, it was used in many domains beyond art history. To be empathetic is to share in the feelings of others, to experience what they're going through. However, there was a problem. Now English had two words that seemed very similar: empathy and sympathy. Empathy is constructed from Greek em meaning in and pathos meaning feeling. Sympathy also contains the word pathos, but the prefix is different. In Greek, syn or sun means with or together with. In other words, people often use the word sympathy to mean the same thing as empathy. Sympathy could mean to share in the feelings of others, to experience a community of feeling. But, over the course of the 20th century, empathy came to take over part of the meaning of sympathy. Here's how one dictionary defines both. Sympathy, a feeling or expression of sincere concern for someone who is experiencing something difficult or painful. Empathy, the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another. Do you notice the slight difference? If you express sympathy, you can be very sincere, but you may not have made the attempt to feel what the other person is going through. With sympathy, you can feel sorry for someone, but you may not fully know how they are feeling and what it would be like to be in their situation. Now that we know the subtle difference, let's come back to the source of the controversy. Why do some conservative Americans despise the word empathy, especially when it sounds rather positive? The simple answer is that they fear that empathy means that the other person's feelings take priority over your own. They take moral precedence. Say, for example, a transgender athlete transitioning to a man wants to participate in a female sport. Obviously, their journey is a very emotional one. But does that mean that a society's policies and rules need to allow this individual to compete, say in women's boxing? This is just one example. In fact, for Elon Musk and others, the entire Western welfare state is in danger of being destroyed by too much empathy. If you imagine the plight of the refugee or the illegal immigrant, would you expel them? How many social benefits should be given to the unemployed? What's the right balance between showing compassion and encouraging others to look for work? Now, notice that Elon Musk, Ben Shapiro, and Charlie Kirk added something to the dictionary definition of empathy. They implied that they didn't like how the term was being used. They felt that people were being told to be empathetic, which then meant adopting the viewpoints of others. They were responding to a particular connotation as opposed to a denotation. But how do other people use the term? In her book, Atlas of the Heart, the well-known academic Brené Brown tried to distinguish between such emotions as empathy, compassion, sympathy, and pity. She argues that compassion means to recognize our shared humanity, and that empathy is an effective tool for showing compassion. She writes, "Empathy, the most powerful tool of compassion, is an emotional skill set that allows us to understand what someone is experiencing and to reflect back that understanding. Empathy happens when you listen to someone without trying to solve their problem right away. There is no judging. There's just fellow feeling and earnest communication." Brown doesn't see any major downside to empathy. She does believe that we have to maintain some boundaries and respect our own autonomy. We cannot let the other person's perspective entirely overtake our own. And yet, and here's what others find challenging, she says that with empathy, I need to learn how to listen to the story you tell about what it's like in your shoes and believe you even when it doesn't match my experiences. How far should we go with that last part? If people like Elon Musk don't like the word empathy, Brown doesn't like sympathy and pity. She writes, "Sympathy and pity are first cousins. They're the emotions of, we feel bad for you, from way over here where the kind of misery you're experiencing doesn't happen." But wait, that doesn't match the dictionary definitions either. Merriam-Webster defines sympathy as a sincere concern for others. It doesn't say that a sympathetic person never experiences the same misery. Sympathy doesn't have to be cold or condescending. What's really happening here is that everyone's fighting over the definitions of words. Ironically, no one is listening to the other side with empathy and understanding. Perhaps all we can conclude is that there is a spectrum of emotions of fellow feeling, all of which describe some aspect of compassion and understanding. The words overlap and change over time. The reason people have picked on empathy is because they either want to blame one word for the problems in society or use one word to represent their own beliefs. And that is why empathy is such a controversial word.